So let me go ahead now, share my screen with my PowerPoint so you guys can see that. And we'll get started. Okay, so again, thanks for coming out for the Reconnect Safely, Return Strong. This is our community meeting to kind of go over what virtual versus face-to-face upon our return on Monday, October 19th will look like. I'll go through the presentation. Since I'm sharing my screen, I do not have access to my chat right now. So as questions come up, I have Ms. Adagabe and Ms. Moody, our two admin, as long as Ms. Vera. She'll be translating what Ms. Moody and Ms. Adagabe can answer the ones that they know. But if not, I will go back at the end and make sure that everyone's questions are answered. Okay. So let me go over kind of where we're at with the remote, virtual, and then the in-person. So all parents were polled and surveyed. 55% of parents chose to return their students to campus starting on Monday, October 19th, okay? With our enrollment, that's about 220 students that will be attending on campus starting that Monday. 45% of parents decided to remain virtual. Okay. Just to give you guys perspective, those of you that have been parents and had their student here in previous years, our enrollment was roughly 525 students on campus at a time. So we're under half of that coming back on October 19th. So that allows us to be very socially distant, as well as adhere to the safety guidelines that I'm going to go over in this presentation. The good news is the students will continue to have the same certified teacher that they currently have. We've been able to work a plan where teachers will work with virtual and face-to-face students simultaneously at the same time. All the decisions that we're making are going to be based on the safety and wellness procedures and guidelines that the district and the CDC has put forward. So some things will be a little bit different than normal school. Some things will take a little bit longer than normal school, but that's to ensure that we have safety and the wellness of our staff and our students at the forefront. So drop-off and entry routines. The school is going to open at 7 a.m. daily to begin allowing students to come into the building. From 7 to 7:30, we'll accept students. We have a plan for students to be socially distanced within the hallway, as well as be supervised until their teacher arrives and allows them to go into class. We're going to have a contactless drop-off as well as dismissal, meaning that parents will stay in their car. We will have staff members present in the circle drive, on the sidewalks, and they will be greeting students, greeting parents, and directing students to the right locations based on their grade level. Our pre-K, kinder, first, and fifth graders will come to the main doors. So if you have a child that's pre-K, K, 1, or fifth grade, you're going to come to the main doors. If they're grades 2, 3, or 4, they're going to go to the side gate over there by the T buildings to enter there. And the reason we're doing this is to keep lines from building and to keep students separate. It also will help us speed up the process of entry because I'm going to go over some of the routines that we have to do on each student as they enter the campus each day. Our special ed self-contained students or the bus riders will still continue to go to the Millwee gate, and we'll have support staff over there as well to greet the students and to get them to their location within inside the building. Again, staff will be available and assisting, so parents, please don't park, please don't get out or walk to the door. We need to keep socially distant and as few visitors and people around at all times. Students must wear masks, and it must cover their nose and their mouth anytime that they're on campus throughout the day, as do staff or any visitors that are considered essential. If your student, for whatever reason, loses, drops, forgets their mask, we will have a supply for each student for each day on campus. And we have two different sizes. We have a pre-K through 2 size and a 3 or an upper grade 3, 4, 5 size. So we do have that for your child if they do forget it. You are allowed to have your child wear their own mask if you prefer. The district will not allow bandanas, and we will not allow masks that have anything inappropriate on them. So if you need masks, we will have them here on campus. Upon entering, every student will go through a temperature screen. They'll have their temperature taken with a touchless thermometer at that entry point. That's why we staggered them over 3 different points so that we can get students in rather efficiently. If the student does have a temperature, they will be sent to an isolation area that we have set up on campus, where they will wait to see if it's maybe from them walking to campus or if they got heated by being out in the sun. And then the school nurse will come in and evaluate and determine based off the district procedures what the next steps are for that student. So let's talk about what daily schedules will look like and then the instruction will how the instruction will happen, because we have 2 different groups going on. We're going to communicate by your child's homeroom teacher, as well as post on the Wainwright at Home landing page with the link right there. We're going to post the daily schedule by grade level on the grade level page. The daily schedule will be changing from what we're currently used to in the virtual setting. So starting Monday, October 19th, you will follow a different schedule with your child, whether you're virtual and as well as the face-to-face, because they're going to mirror each other. We are asking students that are returning for face-to-face to bring their devices and their chargers to and from school each day. We're also asking that we have the student charge the device up before they come each day so that it has a full charge, and then we can stagger the charging as teachers use the technology throughout the day. The reason we're asking for this is because in order for the teachers to simultaneously teach kids that are virtually not in front of them and teachers that are, or students that are in front of them, we want to be able to use the same platforms, mainly the hub, as well as the Wainwright at Home landing page, to help assist families and the teacher with streamlining the instruction. If your child has a device that is a device from home and not an HISD distributed device, based on the data that's in the system that was submitted, we have enough technology on campus and we'll be spreading it out throughout the rooms so that if a student doesn't have their device, we will have a device in the classroom. And I'll talk about how we'll keep that device sterile and clean and make sure that, students aren't sharing devices while they're on campus. So basically the daily schedule is going to be a little bit different per grade level, because some grade levels have 3 teachers, some have 4, some have different dual language rotations than other grade levels. So each grade level will look a little bit differently. But each one will have these components. Each morning we'll start out with a 15-minute advisory. Face-to-face students will have breakfast served to them here, and I'll go over that in a little bit. Each student will get a 30-minute lunch. We will have a 30-minute recess built into the schedule for the students that are face-to-face, and then the students that are virtual will have a asynchronous break at that time as well. Every student will still have a 55-minute ancillary every day. We'll still have opportunities for you to interact with our teachers, and students will still be using the Imagine Learning platforms for intervention. And then we'll have to schedule 2 classroom restroom breaks per grade per classroom. And that will be staggered because we need to make sure that no grade levels or classes overlap with each other at the restroom. And we want to make sure that we ensure that kids get that break and that the restrooms are clean when they do get to the restroom for their classroom. So those of you that are virtual, you can tell already that there will be some downtime while the teacher is attending to recess or while the teacher is attending to the restroom breaks. So there will be some computer time away as well, so that the virtual kids will get a little break as well. So virtual instruction, again, it's going to mirror, it's going to follow the face-to-face schedule. The face-to-face schedule, again, will be communicated to you guys shortly on the Wainwright at Home landing page. If you are virtual, it's still the same rules that apply. They still must participate in daily learning activities and have proof of that participation to be marked present. And these are things that we've talked about before. Those are things such as dropping into the Teams meeting and listening to the class, posting assignments in the hub, engaging with Imagine Learning and Imagine Math. Our teachers will have some time throughout the day to check in with the virtual students to make sure that they understand what's going on. Because as you can tell, having students in front of you, the teacher will be busy with managing that. I do not want the virtual students to miss a beat. So we've come up with a plan to ensure that there are teaching assistants available to assist teachers with coverage and supervision of the face-to-face, so that the teacher can then drop back and make sure that the virtual students are still getting the attention that they deserve. So breakfast and lunch. Breakfast will be delivered to the classrooms in the morning. Lunch will be staggered and it will be very small groups, so that it will take place in the cafeteria, which was once communicated that it wouldn't. But once we measured the cafeteria, and I'll show pictures later of how it's set up, once we measured the cafeteria and then got our numbers of students that would be returning versus not returning, we were able to determine that able to maintain the CDC guidelines because we have such small groups on campus and kids can eat in the lunchroom. Students will sit every other seat and they will only be on one side of the table. Tables will be disinfected and they'll be cleaned after each child eats at that station before the next group comes in. Lunches and meals are going to be individually wrapped and water bottle will be provided because our water fountains will be secured and no students will be able to use them in the hallways or in the lunchroom. Dismissal. Dismissal is going to be, it's going to be slow. It's not really staggered. It's just going to be slower to maintain social distancing guidelines. So we're not just going to release at 2:50. We're going to ask parents and we're going to encourage you, if you are a car driver, to begin to line up just like a normal year at 2:30 p.m., a little bit earlier than normal. We're going to have our youngest students, our pre-K and K, go into the cafeteria because we don't have enough students returning at those grade levels to max out the cafeteria. They'll still be socially distant. Our first graders will come to that main hallway and they'll sit socially distant. And that will help speed up the process. So they'll come to those areas so that they're closer to the front so that when we call for them, they don't have as far to walk. Our older students will come out of the classrooms, the 4th and 5th graders that is, and they will remain in the hallway. And that'll also get them a little bit closer to coming outside. Our 2nd and 3rd graders will remain in the T buildings, which are pretty close to the gate. We will make an all call at the beginning of dismissal for our true walkers. So our kids that walk home completely to leave, and we will stagger them in the hallway. We'll then begin our car riders. So walkers will be released first, car riders will then begin. We will have a system in place similar to last year where we have a staff member calling out homeroom names and numbers based on a car tag you will be receiving. All of our bus riders are going to report to the Millwee gate and they'll be supervised and socially distant there. And then they will be dismissed as their bus arrives. The last statement I want to make, as this whole year, and you guys have all been amazing with it, is that we're flexible and patient, because in a normal year, our arrival and our dismissal routines take longer the first few weeks while staff members, students, parents get used to the system and the flow. So just please continue to be patient, continue to be flexible. We will iron it out and we will make it a well that flows pretty nicely. But we need to ensure that all students and staff remain safe and socially distanced, and that's going to take some time. And I'd rather have the extra time be put in, knowing that everyone's safe at the end of the day. So please be patient and flexible. Again, we will start around 2:30 with the car riders. That gives us an extra 20 minutes. But if we have to go a little bit later after 3, we will, to make sure that kids are socially distant. So let me talk about the safety precautions for those of you that will have students here face to face.
Principal Hutchings?
Yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt. We have a parent that is trying to get to the Spanish side. Is there a way that we could
Sure.
do a quick?
I'm going to escape out of this. Yep. Let me go ahead. Miss Vera, can I have you come into this side?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. So I'm going to share my screen while I still share. Have the parent go to the Wainwright at home.
Ok, para los papás que hablan español, por favor, están ahorita en su junta de Teams, van a abrir otra página para ir a la página de Wainwright Elementary, What's at Home, la van a abrir, van a bajar hacia abajo y se van a detener donde está mostrando el director ahorita, es un radio player, le van a hacer clic en play.
Yep.
Y después de hacerle clic en play, se les va a abrir la siguiente ventanilla. En esa ventanilla van a ir y van a hacer clic en los 3 puntitos que están ahí. Al hacer clic en los 3 puntitos, se les va a abrir esta ventanita de arriba y van a escoger donde dice Show Device Settings. Van a hacer clic ahí. Al hacer clic ahí, se les va a abrir otra ventanilla y van a hacer clic en donde está la bocina y van a escoger este Universal Audio Thunderbolt. Al escoger eso, ya podrán escuchar solamente la versión en español.
Great. Okay. Okay. I'll give them one moment to go to back to that page and get Miss Vera ready to go back to translating for our Spanish folks. Okay, so for our face-to-face, students that are here face-to-face, these are, we're gonna go through a few slides that show all the extra safety precautions that we're putting in place, as well as some pictures so that you guys can kind of see what I'm talking about. So all classrooms are gonna be configured based on the CDC guidelines. Based on the initial numbers that parents have submitted, and then the call outs that we've done and made sure that we got everybody's input, no classrooms are gonna go over the CDC guidelines, and we're able to keep the kids distant within the class. We're gonna lessen the movement of students throughout the day. The teachers will move, and students will stay in class. So ancillary will happen in class. When teachers switch from maybe Spanish language arts to English language arts, the teacher will switch the room, the students will stay put. While I understand for young kids that that is a long day, we will build in some breaks in that room where they can do some stretching and some mindfulness stuff, followed by, you know, the break for lunch and then the break for recess and the break for the restrooms. So there will be some breaks, but they will remain in that class. And the reason that we do that is so that their desk is assigned and they're the only one that sits at that desk. They're the only one that touches those supplies on that desk. They're the only one that touches that chair throughout the day so that there's no contamination with other students in the building. I already mentioned that water fountains are secured and they will not be used in the hallway. When we do our safety drills, and these are only drills, when we have our fire drills or any of those type of drills, we will do it in a staggered way so that students are practicing for the safety drill in the same way that we would do in an emergency, but it's going to be staggered to keep them distant. We will stress, though, that in a true emergency, we will make sure that students are exiting the building as quickly and as efficiently as possible to maintain that safety. But when we do the actual drills, we will do a staggered exit to practice. We have plexiglass barriers that will be in the classroom so that the teacher and the students don't interact without a barrier in between them. We also have barriers in the nurse's office as well as at the front reception to keep separation between students, visitors, staff members, and hopefully prevent the spread that way. Each classroom has a wall hand sanitizer dispenser. We also have them in the hallways. We also have a supply of sanitizer that will be given to teachers in the classroom. So we'll make sure that they have enough sanitizer to make sure that the students are washing their hands as well as keeping the sanitizer there. And we have plenty of floor and wall signage that helps kids mark where they need to stand so that they remain socially distant. We will have no lunch visits this year until we get further guidance from the district, and there will be no non-essential visitors on campus, meaning that we won't have any assemblies or any groups coming to present or after school care. None of that can be on campus at this time. Recess is scheduled for the face-to-face folks, but we won't be using play. We will use the back track, the soccer field, and the blacktop, and teachers will walk students through different activities that allow them to stretch and play without interacting and getting too close to their peers. We have extra support from our custodial staff. They'll be cleaning the high traffic areas like our restrooms, our door handles, and making sure the restroom or the lunchroom is clean in between classes that go there to eat. Our staff, starting Monday, will have an app. Every staff member that attends or reports to an HISD facility will have to complete a questionnaire through this app that tells them whether or not they can report to work. It asks them a series of questions about exposure, as well as temperature and symptoms. And then if they present any symptoms or temperature, then the app directs them to stay home so that we don't have staff members coming to campus to spread the virus. Our class sizes, like I mentioned before, are going to remain small because of the selections that you all made. This actually helped us. The plan was relatively easy to work out this way because of the smaller class sizes that are there. And again, we're buying supplies as well as your child can bring supplies in their backpack, but we will not be sharing supplies. Every desk will have a pencil bag that has everything that kid needs or your student needs for the day so that they're not swapping it with a friend or not using it in a different class and all that kind of stuff. So here's some examples. The first picture on the left is a picture of our lunchroom. And if you can see, this side of the table, no students will sit on. It's all X'd off. Only on this side will students sit. And students will sit here, but not here. Here, but not here. So the students will be the distance that they need to be apart from each other to maintain the guidelines. And we're able to fit small groups at a time because we're staggering the lunches over the course of the morning. We actually have 4 lunches this year that we're staggering. Entry routine will look like this. These are staff members because students obviously have not returned. But as they come in, we will make sure that they're distant. There will be a temperature check before the student walks in and finds their spot in the hallway, and that other students will remain distant from them. You can see right here that we have plexiglass in the classrooms. You can see that if the teacher comes over to interact with an individual student, we have a mobile plexiglass that they can carry with them to always have a barrier. You can also see that the desks and the chairs are at the recommended distance so that no one's that close. And that's a primary classroom because of the small chairs and the tables. In the secondary or the upper level classrooms, the same thing. They're distantly apart where students are going to be at the maintained distance. And the plexiglass is here to show you that there's a barrier between the teacher and the students. We have lots of signage everywhere. So we have signage on the floor so kids know when we're walking and lining up that we stay apart. We have these little red dots so that when we line up and have, like in the morning, if they get here a little early before the teacher arrives, we can line them up and they can stay socially distant on each wall. So they're on each side of the hallway, but they're staggered. So you can see one goes here, one goes here, one goes there, and then there's another one over here. So they're separate and they're not in distance with each other. We have signs that are in the classrooms that look like this. We have signs in the hallway that look like this. We have signs in the restroom that remind students to wash hands. We have signs on the outside of the school. We have signs on the sidewalks We have signs in the T buildings. So there's a lot of signage to remind faculty and staff, as well as students, that we must maintain distance to prevent the spread of the virus. So if there is a potential exposure or a school closure, this is the procedure we're going to follow. If a student or a staff member is exposed or presents symptoms, our school nurse is the head of our wellness team. She will be notified, and she has to go through a set of procedures to report the exposure. The school nurse will conduct an investigation to find out the extent of the exposure. Who was next to the child? Who was next to the staff member? How long were they together? How close in proximity were they? How, where did it happen? And then once we collect all that information, we identify the areas of the building where students and employees were present that were exposed, and they're set up for cleaning and for sanitation. HISD will contact all parents and staff members to inform them of the exposure. So if it happened in a class that your child was in, you're going to be informed that there was a chance for exposure, and go over exactly what happened so that you're aware. From there, HISD facility steps in and creates. If there is a closure and it's a full school closure, then they hope that it's no more than 1 day. The goal is that they can come in, they close school for a day, they sanitize everything and get us back up and moving in 1 day so that we can continue, depending on the extent of the exposure. If we do close for whatever reason, all learning will continue the next day. It'll just be virtual. And that's the important part of why I said, make sure that when students come with their laptop or their iPad, that they're also taking it home every night, because you never know if you're going to get a call that night at 6 p.m. from Wainwright saying there was an exposure or there was a potential case. We're going to close the school for a day for sanitation. All students remain home and engage in virtual instruction. Now, of course, I think with a lot of the guidelines that we have in place and a lot of the precautions that we are taking, that we can prevent a lot of this. However, with the face-to-face and having more and more people coming closer in contact, there's always that risk. But we are going to do everything that we can to make sure that students adhere to the safety procedures, staff are adhering to the safety procedures, and that you as parents are kept in the loop about what's going on the campus. So just some other news kind of related to all this. On Tuesday, this coming Tuesday, October 13th, we will have a teacher workday. In the sense that teachers are all reporting back to campus, and we're going to have them have a day where they can kind of get their rooms ready. They don't have to set them up because we've come in and we've already moved the desk and set them where they need to be, but just to make sure that they're getting all the materials and all that stuff in order and ready for the kids to return the following Monday in class. So they'll be setting up the bulletin boards and making sure that they have supply boxes that are individual for each specific kid. Instead of having things that are shared. So that day, what I've asked teachers to do is to make sure that the students have asynchronous work to do. They have imagined learning to do. They have other things that they can work on to prove their attendance. Teachers will be dropping in the morning to check in with the virtual kiddos and with you all to make sure that they get their attendance for the day. We want to make sure that attendance is still taken care of for that day. But after they do the attendance, I'm going to ask that they spend the day getting their classroom ready while the students are working asynchronously on some independent practice stuff at home. Later in the day, I will have the teachers available again in case questions came up during the day when the kids were working virtually, asynchronously or on their own. And then we will also have a chance to retake attendance in case kids missed the morning attendance. So that's going to be Tuesday. So Tuesday, you may not see your teacher as much as you normally would because they're working here on this end to get the school ready or their classroom ready for the return of the face-to-face kiddos. Another thing that I want to draw your attention to is the socioeconomic form. We're going to have a link on our school website, and I'll probably put it also on the Wainwright at Home landing page. This form is very important to Wainwright because it helps with us getting our funding for the state, but it also helps with us in our school accountability. So we're going to ask all parents to complete it. The information that you provide is confidential. We just need to make sure that we have one on file for each family. It doesn't have to be one on file for each kid, just one on file for each family. So if you have one kid, we have one form. If you have 4 kids, we have one form. But that link will be going up on our school website as well as the Wainwright at Home. I'll also be doing a call out to remind you because we only have about 2 more weeks to get all the forms collected and entered into the system. If you have questions about it, you can always call the school for that. The link that I put on the website will be a link that you can go ahead and fill out the form electronically and submit it right there. You don't have to print anything off. You don't have to fill anything out on paper. If you do need to fill something out on paper or you feel more comfortable, then you can schedule a time to come to the school and we will have extra forms, paper forms ready so that you can complete it here and hand it in and then go your separate ways. The other news that we have for you all is that on Friday, October 9th, at 9 a.m., there will be a coffee with the principal for October. We have the Family and Community Engagement Department from HIC coming out to do a workshop. We have Ms. Cruz bringing in some wraparound specialists, some resources from the community for parents. I will unfortunately not be here on Friday, but Ms. Moody will be leading it and going over some other updates related to the school, not about the stuff that we're talking about today, because I know some of you will also end up in the coffee with the principal, and I know you don't need to hear it again. But she will be advertising to the parents that didn't attend tonight how they can access this recording and get the same information. Okay. So with that said, that's the end of my presentation and the end of the plan. I'm going to go ahead and drop over here to Teams again and see if there is anything that I need to address in the chat. Or if you want to raise your hand and ask individual questions, I'm available for that as well. So let's see, any questions that I have? I see Christina has raised her hand.
Question. I just want to know, will there be any after school program this year?
There will not be any at Wainwright campus after school program, no.
Okay.
We won't be doing that, at least throughout the fall semester. I know that the district said we can reevaluate as we move into the spring semester. So you might be able to hear something more around Thanksgiving time as we start thinking about making plans for January.
Sounds good. Thank you.
But I do believe that FLY is still happening virtually. Is that correct, Ms. Heiner? Jesse? No?
Sorry, I was on a different screen.
Yes.
Yeah, we do have some classes. The strongest program is STEP right now. So if anyone's interested in that, I'll put the information to contact me. And then we are trying also to connect parents with different options for after school, because there are daycares in the area that do. So we're trying to provide at least information for families since we're unable to host it right now.
The other thing that I want to make comment to is that Ms. Cruz is also a resource that knows some of the community people that have daycares and after school programs that are still in session. So you can go ahead and reach out to our wraparound specialist, Ms. Cruz, and see if she has any information for you. The other thing is with dismissal. So those of you that are face-to-face, our dismissal will start at 2:30-ish and will probably run until about 3:15. But the expectation is that students are picked up by 3:15. We will have supervision for them until about 3:30-ish because of our staggered schedules with our teaching assistants and some of our administration. But we do expect that if you are returning for face-to-face, that you are able to pick up your child. And if you have specific concerns with that, you can always reach out to me by email or call, and we can discuss what that might look like. Let's see, I have Ms. Salgado. You have a question?
So let's say that the kids want to go. I know that you say you have 2 breaks of the restroom, but let's say that they want to go to restroom without being the break. Are they going to be allowed to go by themselves or not?
We'll still have a pass system for emergencies for sure. We're going to encourage kids to, use the restroom at the times because we need to be able to regulate the number of kids going in and out of restrooms, and we also have to monitor that they're being cleaned regularly. So I'm still kind of thinking through what that will look like. But of course, if emergencies happen, I'm not going to have a kid uncomfortable or waiting for the restroom. I'm just trying to finalize what that's going to look like on how teachers notify us that a student is leaving in their class at this time for the restroom. Because with the number of classes that we have, we already have to stagger a restroom break across the morning time as well as after lunchtime. So that takes up a lot of time at our restroom. So I just want to kind of balance that. But that is being worked out. And again, I would never have a kid sit uncomfortable waiting to use the restroom.
Okay, thank you.
Let's see, who else has questions? I can go to the chat as well to make sure I addressed any of the things there. Hello, Ms. Cruz. Okay, thank you, Ms. Cruz, for putting your information there. Are there questions, Ms. Moody? I see you've been answering along the way, but is there stuff that I might have missed or I need to address?
We just might want to readdress the socioeconomic form so parents ensure like they're not duplicating or having to do double work.
Sure. Right now, I think we pulled the report last night and there was about 35 parents that had submitted it. So chances are you may have not, but if you want to verify before redoing it, you can always call the school and Ms. Cloud and the front office can check real fast just to make sure that we don't have one on file. If not, we can go in and edit it and change it up so that we don't have the duplicate.
There's a hand raised as well.
Let's see, we have, oh, it's Christina still. Christina, did you have another question?
No, sir. I'm not sure why it's still raised.
Yeah, I know. I did the same thing. Don't worry.
Oh, I see. Lower my hand. Okay, thank you.
If there's no further questions, we'll close out. Just know that you're always welcome to call the school. You're always welcome to email me. I'll get back to you as best I can. I'll try to find the answer if I don't have it. Again, I ask for patience and flexibility. This is new for all of us, but safety is really, really important. I would hate for us to start and go really gung-ho and then get a little lax because we're impatient and then have other things happen. So I really am going to be a stickler about dismissal, arrival. It's not to be a jerk or to delay you or to make you late, but it's just to make sure that our kids are safe, our staff is safe so that we can continue to operate in a face-to-face fashion. Let's see, we have Ms. Sanchez, question?
Yes, for the dress code, could you?
So, sure. Our dress code is going to be relaxed this year. So if you already have Wainwright material or Wainwright uniforms, you can continue to wear them. That's fine. But we're not going to mandate an actual uniform for students this year. The only thing I do ask is that they wear clothes that's fitting, appropriate for school. If they have shorts or pants, that they are appropriate. Well, the shorts or skirts are appropriate length. Skirt having the leggings underneath as well. Jeans, make sure that they don't have a lot of tears or a lot of skin showing. A full t-shirt or polo is fine, or a long sleeve shirt as long as it doesn't have a lot of holes or hanging off the body. But other than that, we just want to make sure that the kid is presentable, basically, you know, and it's appropriate.
Okay, thank you.
And if you are still interested in Wainwright stuff, you can reach out. I know that we have extra uniform stuff here. I know the PTA does stuff as well. So if you want the Wainwright swag, you can get that, but it's not going to be required this year.
Okay.
Mr. Hutchings, there is one more question in the chat about the lunch schedule and bringing food to the classroom.
Okay, let's see.
It's in Spanish, but
Okay.
Delisha Ramirez.
So the question is asking about
The lunch schedule.
Are they bringing the food to the classroom? No. So initially we were bringing the food to the classroom, but that was based on us projecting much higher numbers of face-to-face. Since our numbers came in lower, our cafeteria, based on the size, they came out and measured and we put everything down, the tables down. We're able to fit a total of 72 kids in there and remain socially distant based on CDC guidelines. However, our biggest group of students reporting to lunch at any one time, because we've staggered it, is only 60. So we still have wiggle room there to still keep kids even further apart. So they will be eating lunch in the lunchroom. And they'll be supervised. We'll have a staff in there to make sure that kids are staying separate, that they're sitting on only one side of the table and they're sitting every other seat so that they remain socially distant. The backpacks. Yeah, I have no issue with students bringing backpacks because they will have some of their devices and some of their materials, but we're not going to be sharing them. They do need to bring them and then they need to take them home every day just in case something comes up where the campus does close, but they can bring them. So, also the students of pre-K. Miss Vera, can you find out what also the students for pre-K, if they take backpacks, they can bring backpacks. They can also, they'll also be eating lunch in the lunchroom, being supervised. I just want to make sure I address what she means by also for the pre-K students. The one thing that pre-K will have that the other grade levels will not have is they will have a built-in nap time, just like they do during the normal year. So that will be there. Thank you for the compliments. I appreciate that.
Oh, you have a hand raised, Mr. Hutchins.
Sure. Ms. Sanchez?
I forgot one question.
Sure.
For the lunches, my child's in kinder. Can she bring her lunch or no?
I haven't gotten any guidance that you couldn't, as long as she's not sharing it or you know, multiple people aren't touching it, I don't see why not. She can bring it, and then she just has to carry it herself to the lunchroom, and
Okay.
just follow the directions of where to sit and clean up and all that. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Uh-huh. We will not, though, allow parents to eat lunch with kids or anything like that during this time. So like what they did last year where they had certain days for parents to come up, we can't allow that. But they can bring their food with them so that they don't have to eat the school lunch. Any All right. Well, if not, we'll go ahead and close the meeting. It has been recorded, so encourage your neighbors and friends that may have missed it to watch that or to share the information that was shared. The more people that know, the smoother our transition will go. I will also be doing some call outs next week and communicating through the teachers with parents so that, you know, we get the word out about arrival, dismissal. Those are our two big things. We can take care of everything in-house once we get kids here, but the arrival and the dismissal are going to be what we kind of need to orchestrate. So I'll be sending out some additional information next week to make sure that everyone's on the same page. But if you don't have any further questions, email me, call. We have 2 weeks, and I promise you that we'll have everything in place to make sure that your kiddos are safe. Okay. I thank everybody for their time, and let me know if you need anything.